Hello everybody, it's Nikki Knox here with another episode of Claim Your Energy Back. I've been trying to record these podcasts and even publish some of them on YouTube as well for the last several weeks, and I keep getting stuck, especially with recordings. I somehow start talking about the wrong things and I cannot complete an episode for the life of me, and I don't know why. I don't know whether it's meant to be, whether I'm gonna be able to finish this one off, but I think it's because I'm back to work. I cannot do them in the moment, and at that point when I'm actually about getting a download, if you like, where I'm getting this rush of energy, of information in me that I would love to talk to you, and I can't do it because I'm in meetings or I've got other commitments and stuff like that. I think then I think, okay, I'm just gonna record it after work, and it's not happening because I then lose the train of thought and I can't recover it, which is really annoying. So what I used to do is I used to write things down instead of doing podcasts for myself. Maybe I'm gonna go back to my journals at some point and do something with that. I was trying to, that kind of got stuck. That's how I started recording podcasts. I just feel like there's a lot of stuff and a lot of lessons learned and experiences and perspectives are just flowing through me, but I cannot find the one way to deliver them. And maybe the answer is that there is no one way. It's gonna have to be some of the writing, some of the creative writing, which funny enough, yesterday I started writing a book, which is gonna be a novel. So nothing to do with what I'm talking about here, or everything's got to do with everything I'm talking about, basically. It's all towards the same kind of purpose, which is help you unlock your energy. But I'm even recording this podcast now and telling you all this, what's happening in the background. Even that, it's kind of empowering to somebody. I think if I heard somebody talking about it, that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? It's all process. You're gonna relapse, you're gonna think you're gonna relapse because that's how your mind is programmed, right? It's not relapsing, it's adjusting. So you can't expect to be structured while you're still finding your true self. Unless you had this miracle awakening where you just woke up one morning and you were 2.0 version of yourself. It doesn't really happen. It doesn't actually happen in 2 months. It doesn't happen in, once you read a self-help book and it was like a ping moment. Yes, that light bulb moment is very important at that point, and it's probably going to be your instigator and your catalyst to your changes and stuff like that. Maybe listening to one of these podcasts is going to be one of those. It's going to initiate the change. But once you recalibrate yourself in relation to that change, right, it's going to be something else, and then you have to readjust again. So those are not relapses, those are just, I'm stepping up a ladder again. So now it's different, then it's going to take some time to adjust. So I'll tell you why I'm talking about this right now. So I told you in previous podcasts that this time last year, or rather in August, it all started this time last year. I had a breakdown and I got signed off from work for 7 months, and I was medicated, and I left my fiance at the time after 11 years, and I moved out to live by myself, and I took all of that time to just process everything that's happening to me, to heal, to find myself, and which eventually led me to writing and talking now, and all sorts of other fun stuff, which I have lost. Funny enough, majority of the stuff that I'm now doing, I was doing as a little girl as well. So, when they say go back to your roots, here I am. Because I used to write poetry, and I used to write stories, and I used to talk a lot, and I used to just I was always there for people as well, and then obviously life changed me. I had to readjust to fit in the society, and because I was getting kind of weird when I was a teenager, my mom was like, and I wanted to study psychology because of that, because it was fascinating, like different perspectives on life were fascinating to me. And I wanted to study psychology, and my mom was like, no way, you're doing that, because you're weird as you are. If you're gonna start reading about that stuff, that's basically it. And back then, the attitude in where I was living was that there's no psychologist or no counselor is actually sane. So it was that kind of attitude, which is fair enough, you know. Usually, who is sane anymore? What's the definition of sane? I don't, you know, it is what it is. So I was prevented from doing what I probably should have done, but that happened for a reason as well, and I had to learn different lessons. I don't think I'm gonna be going back that way to get professional qualifications on counseling and stuff. I'm doing it naturally. I don't see any need to get the definitions in my head, to cram them to get a piece of paper. It never meant no certificates or diplomas meant anything to me. I only done them because it unlocks the door. But funny thing with me, because I don't put so much emphasis on them, nobody's ever checked. So I'm not even joking. I don't think anybody's ever checked whether I graduated from high school. Nobody checked it, but I do have those diplomas. Nobody ever wants to see them because I just talk very nicely to people, and it is what it is. So it just proves that they're pointless. I tell them that I have the qualifications and nobody ever checks, and I'm like, okay, but it's there if you need it. You know, I only wasted 3 years on that fucking thing. Good job I didn't actually do it full time, and I wasn't killing myself for it. But you know, it's one of those, when you really think about it, who actually cares? It's not like you're gonna carry that bloody thing on your neck or tattoo your, you know, graduation date on your forearm. I hope you're not doing that, because I'm gonna drive you crazy if you're here and you're someone who does that. So it's not gonna work. So with all of these things that were happening, and they are all wonderful, right? And I can share only them, which is a very common thing in the community in general of podcasters and influencers and stuff like that. God forbid I don't feel like influencer, or I do feel like a draft version of a podcaster as well. But they only share all the good stuff, and it's a bit like selling a dream, right? Everything's wonderful, everything's fine, it's so easy, you're gonna be so happy, blah blah blah. You will have periods where you're mega happy and you're high once you claim your energy back, right? Once you set yourself free. But you will have times where you're gonna be down. You will get times where your mind is gonna play tricks on you, and you're gonna think that you made a mistake, and maybe going back to the old self would be so much easier. But I'll tell you now, if you're here on this podcast, if you made a change and you made a move and you started valuing yourself, you started seeing your own value, you started protecting your energy, and you started to actually pay attention to what kind of people you share your energy with, you will not be able to go back to the old self. Even you can think that it's going to be easy, it is not. And I can share with you now that I kind of tried that in my own way. So I wasn't trying to squeeze myself in my old boots, but I came back to work, and it was a phased return over 9 weeks, and I was doing something like, I think 6 hours a week, and then increased them to 9 and 12 and over 9 weeks. And I came back full time, and I was doing fine while I had no deadlines and I had no real responsibility. I was actually doing stuff in the background, but it wasn't time pressure, and I wasn't talking to very serious people up high and stuff like that. Not that talking is a problem, but it's just I realized that I can do the mechanics of that job very easily. It feels familiar. I kind of miss it. I allowed that analytical brain of mine to rest for a bit. Well, have I? Because I was analyzing myself every day, but it was on the different things. But that kind of 3D matrix analytical brain, that you're proper cyborg, basically. You're just processing data. That side of my brain that was just processing data without questioning anything. Data shows this, and boom, it's this. These are the requirements. And I can tell you, I work in risk and governance, and it completely clashes with the new me. The whole thing about where I am and what I'm doing clashes completely with the new me. So it took effect in June when I got back to work full-time, the same level that I used to be, in the same role, under the same manager, with the same team. Everything's kind of as stressful as it was this time last year when it all kicked off. And I was under a lot of pressure, a lot of stress. We all are, but I just, for some reason, couldn't get my brain to work on those things. And I had holidays, which is a really big thing, especially on the busy periods. When you take 2 weeks off, you need to do a month's work to even go on holiday, because you need to make sure that everything's done before you go, and then you need to make sure that when you come back, next couple of weeks after you're back, you kind of had to have everything done, because you're going to come back to 300 emails, and they're going to switch your focus, and they're going to take the priority. So it's the nature of the job. It's very, very stressful period all year long, but especially when it comes to holidays. At least it is for me. I know it is for everybody, but I just couldn't cope. So a couple of weeks ago, I relapsed, as you would call it. I started crying again. I couldn't face a working day without it shaking, and I ended up taking beta blockers, because just to even have a conversation with my manager, because I couldn't pull myself together. I was like, I don't know what's happening, but I can't work this out. I can't add anything. And it was that guilt from last year. It was the biggest thing for me. It was like, I'm letting everybody down. When I couldn't cope, and I was like, oh, it's not fair on the team. It's not fair on this and that why can't I just do this? And I was like beating myself up again, thinking, Jesus Christ, you had 7 months off, you came back on the phase return, everything's fine, you were doing fine, you're back to normal now. You cut off the ties with your ex and everything. What the hell is wrong with you? Just, if you wanted to, you came back on the phase return to figure out whether you can still do the role, right? Or you need to go a grade down, or you need to change the direction, or whatever. It was all fine. Why now? What the fuck is wrong with you, basically? So you're gonna absolutely face these things probably more than once, the longer you go on this journey. But what I realized is, actually my manager pointed that out when I was having a breakdown on the chat with her again. I don't think anybody's heard me, because we can't see each other, because we're always working from home. Nobody's heard me crying as much as she has. Not even my own parents. Nobody. I just cry and cry and cry, and I was like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And then she pointed out that exactly a year ago, that trip to my home country was when everything kicked off, and I'm having a kind of PTSD. So although it wasn't a traumatic event or anything, it was just when everything flipped for me. My whole way of thinking flipped for me, and she was like, do you reckon is that, and you going back to where it all kicked off is kind of subconsciously triggering you, and you now feel like it's work because you got nothing else to blame, basically. And I was like, you're spot on. That's exactly what it is. It was actually subconscious trigger, which I didn't pick up with my own mind. That's why it's really good to talk to people and to find the right people around you, because everybody. And then I talked to someone else in my close circle. I don't have many people around me, and I'm very selective of who I allow in my energy. The ones I do allow in my energy, we're just like an ecosystem to each other. We help one another. It's not a pity party kind of thing. We're all strong, and we all laugh at things, and we all think that world is ridiculous and this and that, but we all know when to suck it up and do it. It's just they are the right people for me. So when they say something like that, it hits the nail on the head, basically. And when she said that PTSD, and she said maybe you just need to go there, and I was kind of thinking, when she said that, my first thought was like, oh my god, I shouldn't go, because it's just gonna break me, and it's gonna bring everything back again, because my ex's family lives like half an hour away from my family lives. So even not only that, I was going back after a year to my extended family essentially, and my own family who haven't seen me for a year. I'm going back to that country after a year. And a year ago, I was talking to them about how I'm planning my wedding, and they should expect wedding invitations in a month. And even, having his family at such a close proximity as well, and going on the roads where we used to go, and going to places where we used to go. All of that, I think I was blocking with my mind, but subconsciously those were still wounds that were kind of bleeding a bit. Or they were kind of open scars, if you wish. It's been a year, but a lot of things I have healed, but then these little ones, and obviously you have to somehow face your fears. So imagine if I didn't go, then at any point after this, if I went there, it would have been worse, and it would have had a different effect on me, and maybe I wouldn't have recovered from this relapse, as I call it, even though it's not really a relapse, but it's easier to call it like that. So I decided I'm just gonna face it, and I went there, and I did cry. I did talk a lot of shit about him though, about my ex, and I can't stop it. I go to my family. I didn't end up seeing my extended family, and the only person from my extended family that I actually saw was my grandmother, who probably forgot about him anyway. So there was no talks about him, and I avoided anybody else who would want some kind of explanation or whatever, or you want to know what's happening. So I avoided everyone, and I only met one friend, and she was cool about the whole thing as well. It's fine. It was only me going through that road that connects the two households, my parents' house and his grandmother's, that we all used to meet, going on that road, and my dad pointed out saying, oh, you were never gonna have to take this turn on the left. And I looked at, and I was completely miles away from where we are on the road coming back from the coast. And then when he said, we're not gonna ever have to take that turn on the left ever again, and I was like, holy shit, it was 10 years of taking that bloody turn on the left. And then it just brought everything back to me. So I cried the whole way home. I put the headphones on because I just, you don't own anybody any explanations or apologies, right? Especially when you're down. And as I said, I created an environment around me where it's safe to do so. It may not be safe to do so, but what I did, I just put on the headphones and I turned on some healing music. I can't remember whether it wasn't a guided meditation, but I just put some, I think, heart chakra healing frequencies or something, and I just allowed myself to cry, and I just cried, and they had to, just sit there in the car with me crying. I didn't. Now I talk about it, but at that point I only cared about myself, because that's how you should be dealing with it. If I need to cry, I'm gonna have to bloody cry, and you're all gonna have to wait, whether it's at work or you're stuck in a car for 3 hours with your family. It doesn't matter. There are ways to escape it, and there are ways to make time for yourself. So I wasn't ashamed about that. The second I left the car, I kept my headphones on. I went back and took my journal, and I sat on the grass, and I was journaling for a while as well, to let everything out on the paper, because that's my therapy. Frequencies, guided meditations, being in nature, journaling, that's my therapy. So an hour or so later, I was fine. And then they said, what was that? Did we say something? Because they didn't even, they kind of traced back to my dad's mentioning taking the left turn, but I just started crying, and they didn't know why, but they just left me alone. So I told them, and I said, all the memories came back, but now I dealt with it. And they were like, okay, do you want to talk about it? No, okay. And that was it. Because basically, but that's when you're surrounded by the right kind of people. It's, when it's a family, you can't really choose, right? So they may not be the right kind of people, but you can, if you set your boundaries, you can kind of make them the kind of people that at least don't make it worse. So that's it. That's how I dealt with the whole thing. And now yesterday was the first day when I got back to work, and I was kind of stressing out in the morning again, and I was like, "Phew, dude, you actually trying to reach for those beta blockers again, aren't you?" Not happening. Although I spoke to before I went on holiday, I actually signed up for therapy again. Funny enough, I got the spiritual therapist, which recommended me books and everything, and she kind of recommended me things that will help me to break out of the matrix, because I'm now in that limbo, and I think it's important to talk about it as well, where you kind of feel like you're putting yourself first. And even if we don't talk about it from the spiritual perspective, I can say I'm ascending, I can say I'm awakened and stuff like that, or I can say I learned to claim my energy back, I pulled my power back, and I'm now finding myself, and I'm going through it. So whichever way I'm gonna talk about it, it's gonna, some people are gonna connect to it, and some people are not gonna resonate with what I'm talking about. If a word spiritual or awakening or whatever scares you, go away, because it's just a word. It doesn't matter. It's the same like with what you believe in. It doesn't matter what God you believe in. You just believe there is some kind of higher power, that you're not in control of everything, that it's not just people that that can be above you and and control you. There's actually natural forces and stuff like that. There's magnetic fields, there's this and that and that. So spirit is just spirituality, religion, whatever, just keep an open mind. I would love that my podcast, and if there's ever gonna be a community around this or around me, I would love to have Nikki's world filled with open-minded people who don't judge, but they do have their strong opinions about things, and they know their own truths, and they don't care to argue about anything with anybody, really. So it is what it is. That's my opinion. If you agree with my point of view, stick around, and if you don't, just go. The thing is, I will switch between being a rational, matrix-based person, if you like, because I still am, and I have been for a while, right? For like all of my life, apart minus 1 year. But I will also talk about the spirituality and energies and and downloads and stuff like that, and I will explain them eventually. It's just the way I explain things are completely random. And I don't know whether it's for a reason or I don't know why. I just feel guided to just talk of whatever is on my mind. You have no idea how hard it is for me to then, it's not hard, but I mean it's difficult to write a description of what the podcast is going to be about. Everything. It's just whatever comes in my head. I want to talk about this, I'm going to talk about it, that's it. Because when I try to put it in any kind of structure, it never bloody works. So it is what it is. You come into each podcast and you're either vibing on the same frequency as me and you're going to resonate and it's going to help, or you won't. So it is what it is. I'm not going to change it. So the reason why I decided to record this today is because even though yesterday was my first day back after holiday, I was kind of stressed and everything, and I was praying that my manager is not available to talk to me, because the day before I left, I was crying in the morning and I had my mid-year review where I said, I can't do this anymore. And my whole mid-year review was like, I'm not the same person that I used to be. Which is good, and it's true, right? And I just allowed myself to just pour everything out, because I know it's safe with her. So I just allowed everything to pour out, and I was like, I don't think it's fair that everybody has to dance around me when I'm bloody crying and losing my shit, and I'm not as good as I used to be in this. I don't even know if it's, if the role is right for me. I don't even know. I love you all, but then I hate this. And I was like, everything. I was just pouring out on her with everything, and she was like, just take some time off. Go there, deal with the stuff that you have to deal with, don't think about work, and come back and we'll talk about it. Just let me know if you will think about work, if you just think whether you want to stay in a team, in a department, in the company, or you just need to just leave completely and do something completely, absolutely different. So that's all. But she said don't put too much emphasis on what you're gonna do, or on what, you don't have to bring an answer basically from the holiday. So she was like, I get it, okay, just calm down, go and have a holiday. Because I did say that if I didn't have that holiday approaching, I would have probably been signed off already. Saying that though, that holiday triggered the whole bloody relapse, so yeah, I probably wouldn't have been signed off hasn't it been that holiday. But everything happens for a reason. You're going to learn a lot about this. Everything's related and everything's connected. And so yesterday she just pinged me saying we're going to have to talk about it, because she was concerned. I was talking to her today, and she was most concerned whether I'm even able to come back to work, because the way I sounded that last day before holiday, and I was working till midnight to finish something off. She was very concerned that I may not even be able to cope at all to coming back to work, which wasn't the case. I actually came back and I just done things yesterday. There were no meetings because nobody knew that I was back that day. So I just done some things in the background, and today I've done some things in the background, and I ran a meeting as well, and it's okay. But having to talk to her this morning was a big stressor for me. So when we talked, I was kind of rational, and I did meditate a bit in the morning, and I did pray to just get some kind of clarity in my head so that I can articulate what's happening and what I want in the future without ruining my life, basically, because I love the flat that I'm living in. And that's kind of the only reason probably why I came back to work, because to that job, because I need finances, because I'm on my own, right? So I need to be earning enough to support myself, which is how majority of people live, and that's completely news to me at 31. It's not news, I knew, but I always was able to just go to work because I like it, and I used to change roles once I don't like it anymore. So it was always about me being actually happy in the work environment. And with this field where I am now, it's been, instead of my usual 18 months, it's been 2 roles, but the same kind of area for the last 4 years, and that's one of the reasons why I'm glitching. I think from the 3D perspective, there are always explanations from that perspective what's happening, right? That PTSD, the too many years in the same role, working from home, blah blah blah, COVID, and all sorts of things. So there are 3D matrix explanations of what's happening, and there are other explanations that are happening. I just, as I said, once you make those changes in your life, it affects everything, and there's no way, even with all the changes, that you can just completely, let's say I left my ex. Did I become a completely new person? No. I became different, and I stood in my power, but then you have to see your decision through, basically. So I made that decision, I'm gonna leave him. What now, right? So what now is you're gonna have to move out, right? Or you need to sort out your living situation. You're not gonna live with him if you left him, right? So that's a process in itself. You have to go to agencies. There's back in October last year, it was still COVID and stuff like that, massive delays, and it took me 2 months to move out, even with all the paperwork going really well and stuff. It just takes time, so you have to deal with that. While you're dealing with that, you're still living with, I was still living, in my example, right? I was still living with him. There was always pressure. So when you're signed off, it's not pressure, but it's like every month you have check-ins with your doctor, and they review whether you're okay to go back to work. And I was like, there's just no way I'm even talking about it. So there's all of that. There's in the background, there is that guilt, and there is that fear that at some point you're gonna have to do something about it. So it's a huge process, and then you make a decision to go back to work, to move out, right? You moved out, and you think that day when you moved out, you're finally free and you can do everything you want, blah 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 blah. No, you have to buy furniture. You have to settle in. You have to in the background is all the spiritual stuff, all of the new you, all the meditations, all of the journaling, or you're dealing with all the subconscious stuff as well. So when you're in the meditative state, when you take time for yourself, it's all in subconscious mind, it's all your spirit, it's all your it's your soul, right? You're working on your soul, but then you have to work on your body, and you have to work on your mind. So your mind is working on all the 3D things. I have to do this and that. I need bed, I need, kettle, I need things like that. So that's your mind working over time, because you're on your own and everything's changing, and you have to completely change. Being on a long-term relationship, everything changes when you leave. It's easier, but it's also harder, in terms of, if you're not gonna get it done, it's just nothing's gonna, if you're not gonna go food shopping, or you're not gonna order delivery, it's just not gonna happen, right? Somebody's not gonna lose their patience and just get it done, because there is no somebody. So it is easier, but it takes time to adjust as well. So nothing is straightforward. Everything takes weeks and months and days, and the key to that is, as I said in one of the podcasts as well, it's to stop giving emphasis on the time, So to stop emphasizing the time, because that will drive you nuts. But it's inevitable that you will. So even, the fact that I had that relapse at this time exactly a year ago, everything started, and then even subconsciously I had the relapse because of to do with timing, right? Because that's this time last year, it's unhealed wound, it's gonna come back. So like with everything in your life, everything goes around in circles until you learn your lesson and you break free. So it was my circle of a period of 1 year, right? I had to go back to the same place. I had to go on the same roads. I had to talk to the same people. And it's fine, I feel now. So I cried it out. I spent a lot of time meditating. I deliberately, not deliberately, but I made sure that I do something for myself during that holiday, because going back to my home country is not really ever a holiday. It's like going and meeting extended families and friends and cousins and talking to everybody and just eating and drinking, and that's basically all you do. And it's like you have to be there, and it used to be like that for 11 years, and that's not one family that you have to juggle, it's two. So this time, only having my family to deal with, and them being okay for me not going to see extended family was awesome. So I was just basically every other day I would be on a train for 2-3 hours to go to another city to get a certain procedure done, which I can actually say I had 5 sessions of colon cleanse, which it's like a hydrotherapy, which is really good because I've been on medication during this time, and I also, which didn't have much of an effect, to be honest, but I've always had some problems with my digestion, with food allergies, with this and that, and for me to take that time to actually prioritize in that very stressful time when I'm back in the country where I haven't seen my family for a year, and I just couldn't care that it's a year or 2 years or whatever. That just doesn't affect me how long I don't see them. As long as we're talking that, it doesn't, it's fine for me, basically. I don't know how people talk to their families every day. It just drives me nuts. So I'm fine. It could be a year or two, maybe after 2 years I would miss them, to the point where I'm like, I just want to sit there and hug you for 2 weeks. I don't think I would ever reach that point, but anyway, I actually prioritized myself for the first time, because all of the times that I used to go back to my home country used to be focused around everybody else and meeting everybody's expectations, and then people, even if you go and see them, it's one time is not enough, and they just make you feel guilty for not meeting them again and again and again, and you just think it's a nice problem to have, right? People like me. But at the same time, you're just overgiving again. So I made sure that this time it's not happening. So I was doing something for my body, healing my body, right? I was healing my soul by going back to the same place where everything happened and processing everything and journaling about it, meditating, and the mind had to catch up with everything, all the healing that I was doing. So I slept a lot, not a lot, but I slept well when I was there, because it was a lot of information processing in my head when I was there. None of it was around work. I just couldn't focus my brain to think about work, because it's this, if any of you are gonna go through the same thing as me, which is like spiritual awakening at the same time as just you starting glitching in 3D. It may not always be a spiritual awakening, to be honest. It could be just, you're quite happy in 3D, you're just in the wrong job, but you do need boundaries, and you're over giving to other people. So it's not always going to be a spiritual journey. I'm just talking, it's easier for me to include both. because otherwise it's gonna be limited. And what I'm trying to do is just to share with you how my mind, my way of thinking, my perspective works, and it's all of it. So everything's relevant. All the matrix stuff is relevant, and all the spiritual stuff is relevant, and it's a mix. And right now, it's been a year, right? And I'm doing fine. It's just I do have days where I just want to cry, and I do have days where I just think, why am I just imagining all of this? What if it's all just in my head, and I'm just in this, maybe I lost the plot a year ago, and I did have a breakdown, but I'm so good at talking and convincing people about things that nobody can pick up that I had a breakdown. And maybe my brain is broken and I'm imagining things and everything is not just hunky-dory, and I'm actually completely broken and everything's just an illusion that I'm creating for myself and all that. I allow that thought to come in, but I can just feel, when you connect it to yourself, you kind of know when the thought is a thought and when it's just some 3D bullshit trying to scare you. But once you get rid of all the fears and everything, it tries to come in and kind of scare you, and you just go, what the fuck are you doing? And it's almost that thought, if it was a human, right? If that thought was a human, it would be fucking transparent, because that's so weak. And I just go, you can blow it away, you just go, and it's gone. And so there will be doubt because of the pressures from the external world outside of your control. So you're gonna have, because we've been programmed to think certain way and to act certain way and to meet other people's expectations and to fit in the crowd, once you start acting differently, there will be, depending where you are, as I said, I was very happy and lucky and grateful that when I had my breakdown, I realized that I had the right people around me. What if you are not so lucky and you have this awakening, a breakdown, epiphany, when you're surrounded by completely wrong people, and it's all of that pressure from everybody else going, you can't leave your job, nobody pays as much as they do, you have all of this experience, you have the reputation, you have networking, what are your family is going to say, what your grandmother's going to say, what about this, what about that? And then they just, if you're surrounded by the wrong kind of people, I think it's almost unmanageable. So really, 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 the whole point of these episodes is to just keep telling you not to lose yourself. So you claim your energy back by, when you have a setbacks, right, you process them. So there is a saying, when you get tired of something, get some rest, don't quit. So don't go back to, take from my experience, right, don't go back to the things that used to work for you as coping mechanisms when you were your version 1.0. You are version 2.0 right now. So old ways of coping are not gonna work. So me going back to this job worked for a little bit because there were some things that I had to heal. I had to prove to myself that I didn't lose my plot, basically. So if I'm back to work and I can actually do it, because even then the thing that drove me nuts the most last year, when I had to tell my manager I can't do this anymore, was that I am bloody capable, more than capable, to do the bloody job. It's stupid how capable I am to do it. Why is my brain not working? Why am I struggling? Why am I crying? Why doesn't anything add up? It's not that I don't understand it, it's just I can't pull it all together. I don't know how to explain it. To this day, I don't know how to explain it. All I know is that this morning, when I had that chat with my manager, when I asked my guides through a prayer I asked my higher self, if you like, and now I'm sounding completely wishy-washy to some of you. It's like having a conversation with yourself. If you believe in anyone, talk to your angels, talk to your guides, talk to your gods, and whatever works for you. I just had this, it's something about when you say it out loud, your soul can actually hear it and it knows what to do. So I said, can I please just find the right word so that I don't mess up my whole life right now, because I'm spiraling still and I don't know what I want to do. So I was really scared that my manager's gonna want me to know whether I'm staying or going, and I didn't have the answer. And another question that I was scared even more of was, what do you want to do instead? Because I know what I want to do instead. I want to do this. I want to do podcasts. I want to learn more about spirituality. I want to tap into my many, many talents, which I rediscovered. I want to do so many things that got nothing to do with making money. Like actually making money. I want to do them without thinking about money, because that's how I was operating my whole adult life. I never worked anywhere for the money. I don't know how to do it. I'm just not built for that. I am earning good money, right? But I think it's because I'm so fluent and because I'm keeping myself happy and stuff like that, and I don't emphasize on it. And maybe to some it's always relevant, right? Earning good money, it's a relevant thing. It's enough for me. It's just enough for me to do what I want, and it's not excessive amounts, and I'm not focused on it. I just want to be able to live where I live right now. So I need to stay at my job for the money until I work out a way to make money a different way. But I'm just not wired like that. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep faith and see what happens, basically. And I'm gonna carry on doing things that I'm doing, and it's gonna happen at some point. But I accept that it's gonna be a process and it's gonna take some time. And basically what I said to my manager this morning was, okay, I think I need to go and look for opportunities to work with people more, instead of just processing data like I'm a cyborg all the time. It used to be my safe zone. I used to hide behind data because I never used to I thought all of the conversations once the data is produced is pointless, because data is data, it says what it says. And everybody else, whatever they talk about, I'm like, yeah, you're just gonna need data to back it up. So yeah, I was hiding behind data, and now I'm more of a person where they show you the data and I'm like, so what? And they have no answers, and then I get annoyed and I'm like, so why are we doing this? I don't want to be that person who sits in the workplace with the team that she loves, the manager that she loves, and surrounded by people who love their jobs. I don't want to be that person, that rotten apple that sits there and just goes, this is pointless, and I don't see that. This is me, right? Not being the same version that I used to be, and therefore it's time for me to go. That's it. I don't need to poison anything around me. It's time for me to go, because I'm not happy here anymore. I don't feel inspired, and it's not for me anymore. That's it. That's all I need to think about. And actually this morning, once I asked for help from my guides, I got this epiphany that the way I dealt with this breakdown last year was like, I allowed myself to just be. I was like, you know what, if I need to break, I'm gonna fucking break. And that was the best decision ever. So if you feel like you're on the edge, let yourself fucking fall. Because imagine if you have this ditch in front of you and you're walking around the edge, and you just anytime you can slip, right? You can step on the wrong stone and you're gonna slip and fall into it. Why keep yourself in that suspended energy? Just fucking jump. Just jump and let yourself fall. So that's what I did. I was like, fuck it, I can't deal with this. I'm just gonna fucking jump. And by me saying I'm gonna jump means I actually said, I can't do this no more, I need help. That was me jumping into it. Once I said I need help, I got help straight away. They signed me off, so I don't need to worry about work anymore, right? And then I just did the best thing that you can do when you actually take time off. I actually dealt with myself, and I actually was determined to get myself sorted for life. And I remember myself saying, I'm gonna take this time to sort myself out for good, because I've been feeling that something's wrong for my whole bloody life, and there was always pressures to study, to work, to do this, to do that, and the partner and all sorts of things, and you never actually deal with anything, you just push it away. And I was like, you know what, I earned this opportunity. I'm at the job where they're actually gonna pay me for some time to have off, right? I earned this safety net, so, and I worked really hard for it, so I'm just now gonna lay on it, and I'm just gonna take my time, and I deserve this. But it comes from a place where you either can't deal with any more stress and more pressures, or you actually somehow find a way to love yourself and understand your worth. So that time, I think it was 2 days after I got signed off last year, I started smiling. I was like, this is the best fucking thing that happened to me. Having the breakdown, and obviously my partner was the only one who knew at that time, and I was like walking around the house smiling and giggling, and he thought that I completely lost it. And I was like, this is the best fucking thing that could have ever happened to me at fucking 30. Awesome. I'm still young. I mean, there's no kids, there's nothing. I'm like, oh, this is the best fucking time ever for me to just go through this right now. And I was like, I was so happy, I was so grateful that I am having a breakdown and my whole world is flipping upside down. I was like, fuck yeah. That's awesome. I can finally deal with it, because I was just, when you're a teenager, when you're a child, when you're in a relationship, it's always someone else deciding things. And I was like, no, you know what, I'm adult, I've done studying, I worked enough to now have some time, be at the job where I can actually afford some time off. And I was like, dude, I mean, I've done everything I've been working for my whole adult life led me to this moment where I can have a breakdown. It sounds backwards, but it's actually true when you think about it. I'm actually created this safety net for myself. So although I felt like I was working and doing things for anybody else but me the whole time, actually in the background it worked out quite well, because I did build this cushion for myself. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna lay on my cushion and I'm gonna jump up and down, and I don't give a fuck about what's happening. I'm in the snowplow mode right now. I actually came up with that like thing September last year. I was like, I'm like a fucking snowplow. Whatever is on my way needs to move, or it will get run over. And that's exactly how I operated the whole time. So this morning, when I talked to my guides and I said, I need help, I need to help me articulate things in a way that I don't completely fuck it up, I had the same smile on my face suddenly, and I had this energy of, Jesus Christ, I mean, fuck yeah, of course I can't cope in this work anymore, in this job anymore, because I'm not the same person, and it's awesome. I actually reached a point where I can't even fake it anymore. It's amazing. I mean, I ascended. That means, like, if you imagine your whole ascension, spiritual awakening, you finding your own self, you claiming your energy back, right? It's always going to be, you can imagine it as steps or a ladder. So I stepped on the next level on the ladder, and of course nothing is going to make sense to me anymore. And that's why I was having the breakdown. And that's why I ascended higher. So this old version of me that was okay to do the data, hide behind it, just focus on things that need to be done, it was my strength. give me some kind of policy and tell me that this needs to be done this way, this way, this way. I'm gonna be so passionate about that fucking thing to make sure that everything we have matches those requirements. That was just, what the hell? I can't even talk about it with a straight face anymore. But that used to be my comfort zone, and I was really good at it. And I still can do it. I can't be as good at it because there's no passion behind it anymore. But I realized that I was okay doing that because of the person that I was living with, because he was very kind of structured and very 3D. Everything, just very 3D. So my home environment and my work environment matched back then. Now my home environment is like complete la la land in comparison of the work environment, and it clashes, and hence I'm having glitches because you can only switch between the two this long without faking it, and I can't fake anything anymore. I killed that ability in me. I'm not faking anything. As I said, if I need to cry, I can cry. If I'm having a bad day, I'm just telling people I'm having a bad day. If they don't want to listen, well, don't approach me on a bad day. not that evil, but it's cool. It is what it is, and you have to be this free spirit who actually puts themselves first. And then once you actually accept that there's nothing wrong with you, and it's nothing even wrong with your environment, it's just, it is what it is sometimes. Like right now, I'm fine, everything's fine. I've been through so much in this, and there's not enough emphasis on how going back to the places or reliving things or having dreams about something, how much it throws you back to where you were. And then you have to relive things, and as I said, there are always scars, and it takes time, and it can happen again and again and again until you completely heal it. It's fine. It's you need to accept it, and once you accept it, you can then appreciate that having these breakdowns is a gift. It's an opportunity to deal with shit. And if you have to go back to something, you haven't completely healed it, and it's also fine, because potentially it was a biggie, right? So you're gonna heal majority of it. You're never gonna get to nitty gritty. You're gonna always have to come back and just pick up the last couple of things, and that's it, and it's fine. And that's the freedom. You just learn to appreciate it. So today, as I said, I had that epiphany that fucking hell, if this job needs to go, it fucking needs to go. I'll go and work somewhere else, and then I'll see where I go. And then suddenly I remembered this guy that was talking about development, and he was kind of free spirit. There are a lot of spiritual people around me from everywhere. They just appear. So I remembered that guy. I'll try and go and talk to him, and I'll see if I can keep a job in the company that I'm working in, because I need time to do other things that I'm doing, and I need time to get my qualifications for other things that I want to do that are more spiritual and more aligned with me. So it's just buying the time, but me buying the time it doesn't mean that I have to be stuck in the old things that I used to do. It just means that I'm gonna have to play the ball a bit in 3D for now, but it can still be more aligned to my soul purpose and to the real me, the Nikki 2.0. So that's it, I think, for today. I think I'm just gonna leave it here, and I'll talk you through what happens next, and we'll see where I go. And when I feel like it, I'll record another podcast. And as I said, I'm not a teacher. It's not gonna be structured in any way. I'm just talking and sharing my perspectives, my experiences. If you took anything from it, amazing. I love you. Talk to you next time.